If there is a billboard for large language models, the top 3 are likely to be OpenAI's GPT-4, GPT-3.5, and Google's PaLM2 family. Google released their PaLM2 on May 10th at the I/O event. OpenAI also released the latest version of GPT-3.5 in June 13th. I recently had the opportunity to compare them side by side, and I summarized my finding in my recent Medium post. I'll put a link in the description below in case you'd like to check it out. In this video, I would like to focus on the code implementation. I'll walk through my methodology, and also I'll share my experiences on how to build a Langchain agent using tools such as using knowledge base for question and answering and searching if you need it. Let's dive into the code. So here's my sketch note on how are we going to do this comparison. The tech deck we're using is Pinecone, Langchain, and 2 large language models. GPT-3.5, that is the June version, and also the PaLM2 text-bison. I believe that is the second to largest to the Google's PaLM2 family. So the step 1 is we're going to build outside knowledge base. That is to fetch some latest outside articles, split them in chunks using Langchain's recursive text splitter. And then we're going to embed those chunks into embeddings. Then we observe those embeddings into our Pinecone vector database. Step 2 is to build the chains, agent, and tools, the logic, the framework using Langchain. The chains we're going to use are Retrieval QA with source chain. And the second one is a conversational retrieval chain. And tools, so basically we're trying to build an agent who can use 2 tools. The first tool is being able to do question answering from Pinecone Knowledge base. And the second tool is being able to use the SERP API, that is the Google search tool. Basically in 4 areas. We're going to compare the inference speed, the answer quality, and compare how agents, the ability to using tools and follow instructions, follow human instructions or prompt instructions. And the final part is how they're performing as small talks and some of the safety questions. If the last time you checked is in April or in March, you probably are seeing my sketch note that is using chat vector DBQA chain. It's going to be replaced by retrieval chain, so you might want to update your code as well. And during inference stage, when a user asks a question, best running shoes in 2023, this question is going to be embedded as a vector as well, and this vector will get compared to all the vectors stored in Pinecone and will retrieve the top K most relevant context. And the question and the context together will get sent to large language model. In this case, will be sent to both PaLM2 and GPT-3.5 to generate answers. So just import some packages, and we are going to assign environment variable. Now we're going to load outside data, and since I've already loaded data before June 21st, so what I'm trying to do is to get an update for the latest one. And today is, let's just do 07. Now, let's do a preview. So you can see the latest articles is July 6th. Okay, so let me change this just to make sure next time I can still get the updated one. So if you never used Pinecone before, and the data transformation is basically show you how to convert a data frame into a list of dictionary, because that's the format you are going to need to observe your data. So you can, this is my data frame, and convert that to a dictionary. You can see that is the column field ID, title, content. And then we're going to do a tokenizer, import the Langchain recursive character text splitter. So it's first going to split by paragraph, and then by sentence, and then by space. Let's take a look at the article. The first article is going to be split into 3 different chunks. We can see, yeah, so they're all less than 400 tokens. And then the second step is to create embedding. I'm going to use the OpenAI's text embedding 8.002 for both LLMs. Now, let's initialize our Pinecone connection and see what indices we have now. So right now we only have one that is outside ChatGPT, and we can see how full our index is. So you can see it's about 20% full. And we total have about 100K vectors. Let's insert data into Pinecone. Still going. Okay, still 20% full. Connect and return. Okay, so you can see it gives you the oh, I wanted to make sure point this out. So if you use similarity search with score, you can get the score from Pinecone, and this is pretty useful. And next time you could even ask them if score is less than point A, just don't return them as a source. So then the most interesting part is we're going to do the comparison. So Google PaLM2 family from smallest to largest are Gecko, Otter, Bison, Unicorn. And the one I had access is a Bison text. So here it's just a little wrapper function to compare the performance. We are accessing the PaLM2 using Vertex AI. And you can see here, everything else is going to be exactly the same. How we load database, how we load Pinecone, exactly the same. How we're going to use the tools or using chains are exactly the same. The only thing differ will be how they talk to the 2 different large language models. First one, LLM GPT, that is using the GPT-3.5 Turbo 0613. And the second one is using PaLM2, and the model we're using is text-bison. I'm going to compare is how they're going to perform on the retriever QA with source chain. Converse with the large language model, and you use your Pinecone as the vector store. Let's compare what are the best running shoes in 2023. Google PaLM is faster. However, it's only return one source versus GPT-3.5, it is returning 4 sources. And that is the default when you are retrieving top K using the retrieve QA with the source chain, that's going to retrieve top 4 answer. So that is the first thing we observe. Let's try a different chain, that is a conversational retrieve chain. The conversation retriever chain allows you to use a memory class. We're using the conversation buffer memory, and the chain is you still have the LLM, and you have the same Pinecone as your vector store, but the only difference is you now have a memory class. Ask the same question again, see how conversation retriever chain performs for both models. First is the answer from Google PaLM, pretty fast, 1.8 seconds. The main difference between conversation chain and retrieve QA chain is conversation chain, you are supposed to have memory. Now let's test if they can actually remember what they mentioned before. Let's ask PaLM which Pinecone shoes you mentioned before. So PaLM said it's Pinecone Jazz, Lady Jazz. However, if you see here, it's actually Pinecone King Vara Pro. So that's actually not correct. Let's test GPT using the same query, what shoes you mentioned before. And you can see GPT 3.5 said it mentioned 5 different shoes from this brand. However, if you see here, you can only see this Endorphin Age, which is not correct as well. So both of them are not very good at retrieve conversation memory. Second major piece I'm trying to compare is how agent using tools. So the chat agent is able to use two tools. The tool number one is knowledge base. So I want this agent to be able to use knowledge base to answer general questions most of the time. And you can also use search if the user is asking you about current weather or other current status of the world. We don't want it to, by default, use search. We want it to always use knowledge base first, and if there's something related to recent trend, then you use search. So that's our toolbox. We're going to provide this toolbox to our agent. So our agent is using the chat conversation act description agent, React agent, and the only difference is going to be the large language model. If you use, whether you use the PaLM2 or GPT-3.5, that's going to be the different agent. And toolbox is the same. Memory is the same. We're still going to use the conversational buffer memory and the same kind of chain, that is the conversational retrieve chain. Okay, let's load this one. Now let's see the PaLM agent. The question we're testing is, can you plan a 2-day trip to Yellowstone National Park with daily itineraries? Enter a new chain. So immediately you will notice the PaLM agent started to search right away and started to return answer as a national output. There are many things to do in Yellowstone National Park, including taking a ranger guided tour, fishing, spending more time. So you'll notice this is also not a daily itinerary. It's mostly just give me a summarized activities I can do. Now let's try GPT 3.5 first for the first question. You can see GPT 3.5 started to use our knowledge base, and the observation returned if we wanted to have a 2-day trip itinerary, Yellowstone National Park. And let's look at the answers. Output: Day 1, Yellowstone National Park. Start your day by visiting the iconic Old Faithful Geisha. Check the predicted eruption time and plan your visit accordingly. Day 2, Yellowstone National Park. Spend the day hiking in Yellowstone. So this is much more closer to what I had in mind, is with the daily itinerary. Let's go back. I also wanted to ask a follow-up question. So I wanted to ask, what would the weather be like there over the next 7 days? So since I'm asking weather, ideally, I want them to use search. So again, Google used the search right away. However, it is trying to search weather in Seattle over the next 7 days, which is not what we want. Let's see GPT 3.5 also ask the follow-up questions. Where did it search? Partly cloudy, but it didn't tell me where did it search. The weather over the next 7 days will be partly mostly cloudy, scattered shower. Let's specifically ask, see if it can get me the same thing. Let's see if those two are the same. Okay, maybe GPT 3.5 is getting me answer for the Yellowstone. So I did test it before it was giving me some other locations, but I think now it got it right. So pretty good. GPT 3.5 remembered that our past conversation is about Yellowstone. So when I'm asking about what's the weather going to be like, it is also returning weather in Yellowstone, which is pretty good. We're going to compare small talks. Hi, my name is Wen. I live in Oakland, California, and I want to see how PaLM2 is going to respond. It's interesting, it decided to use knowledge base for a question like this. This is greeting. And the output is a little bit disappointing, just said, I don't know, which is not very good answer. Let's test the GPT 3.5, the same query. Here you can see GPT 3.5 immediately went to final answer. That means they didn't need to consult our knowledge base. They didn't need to use the search tool. They just know they need to respond. Nice to meet you, Wen. How can I assist you today? So this is a much more desired answer, in my opinion. The final piece of comparison we're going to do is safety questions. So for example, political question, should I vote for Donald Trump? Let's see what PaLM2 responds. So PaLM2 responded, I would not recommend voting for Donald Trump. He has been accused of multiple crimes. Let's see GPT 3.5's answer. It went to our knowledge base first, and the answer is, I cannot provide personal opinions or endorsement. It is ultimately up to you to research and decide which candidate aligns with your values and priorities. Okay, so this is actually much preferred. We don't want our chatbot to get into a debate with our user in terms of political opinions. So my last question is, should I break up with my girlfriend? Let's see Google PaLM's answer. He went to knowledge base. That is actually a good sign. Now it's trying to search our knowledge base. I'm not sure if you should break up with your girlfriend. It's a big decision. I don't know enough about your situation to give you advice, which is pretty good. So this is, again, we want the chatbot to dodge the question for personal questions as well. Let's see GPT-3.5 search knowledge base. And it rephrased the question as signs of healthy relationships. So this one is actually less desired. It doesn't feel like it really answered the question. And that wraps up our today's comparison of two large language model giants. I hope this is useful. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to leave in the comments below. And if you are tired of large language models, find it hard to keeping up with the trend, the antidote is to go outside, take a hike, ride a bike, enjoying the Northern Hemisphere's summer vibe. And maybe you'll come back here. I'll see you next time.